Oh no! Oh no!
Ah, look, we have to be quiet, but no, we don't, because this is the quest that is the questionnaire. Yeah, I am the unknown factor. And check it. If you know I'm in this mug, you know I got my other half, that one, wait, sixth of Zay. Yeah, I had to think of how many there were of us. Hardaway, what is up?
What's up, everybody? Jay D-Day Hardaway in the building. How y'all doing?
Yeah, dude. Can I say I love how this show's going? I don't know about you. We're on what, episode 9 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we're on episode 9. We're about to hit the 10th episode. We're about to hit double digits with this piece, right? Right? We've had a plethora of different guests. We've got a lot of people coming up, right? But today, we had to get correct with correct-handed comics. David Whalen, how you doing, man?
Hey, hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it is a pleasure.
It is.
That is the point of the quest, is
The
to get
pleasure's
into
mine.
all, yeah, is to get into all levels. You know what I mean? Because I am someone that is a firm believer that comic books should be more intricate in our society, especially based on the fact of some of the things I have read about upcoming guests as well as past guests. You know what I mean? Like if you're telling me comic books taught you to read, and then you're telling me comic books ain't important, and I know people that only read literally that's the way they learned to read was because of comics.
Mhm.
Got me effed up. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. It's a tale as old as time. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Reading Archie and comics like that didn't make me a better reader.
I look, man. There's a reason I say my greatest influence as an MC is Stan Lee. It's
No,
because he gave me my vocabulary, and that's just factual. But let's get right into that, then, man. We're gonna jump into something different than we normally do, and then I'll let Hardaway take what is typically the first question right after I ask this one, man. Why do you think there is such a stigma, especially even now, towards comic books, considering the fact that that's a lot of what you watch. You know what I mean? Like I think I brought it up in the last interview that like a lot of people aren't aware From Hell is based on a comic book.
yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many things that come out that are based on comic books, David. Why do you think there's still a stigma on it?
I think that it started from the early ages in the 40s when people were seeing the rise of the superhero, Superman and the Shadow and the Phantom and things like that popping up, and parents didn't really see it as a legitimate art form, not even a legitimate art form, but a legitimate form of entertainment. Because it was so at that point the superhero genre so new. Comic books weren't exactly new, but it was a lot of horror and a lot of silliness and a lot of stuff like that. There were even like detectives comics and things like that. And I just think that unfortunately it just hasn't been able to shake the idea that it's just like when people say, oh, it's just a comic book. I don't really know what that means because a comic book could be millions of different kinds of things, millions of different kind of stories, millions of different kind of genres and characters, and it can do more than just entertain. It can teach, and that's one thing that I think now, especially with this boom of indie comics coming in the last few years with the vid stuff happening, the pandemic, I think that people are starting to see it a little bit more clear for what it is. I know that when I was growing up reading all those comic books, my parents liked that I liked it because I was reading, and they weren't ones to throw them away or anything like that, like so many other parents did. But they definitely would have rather seen me read chapter books rather than comic books. And for whatever it's worth, as a parent myself, my kids love the graphic novels. But I also say, hey, throw in a chapter book from time to time, just so you get the breadth and width of all the kind of literature that's out there.
That's
It's not
right.
it's not only doing comics or only doing chapter books. It's getting an eclectic view of everything that's out there.
Because look, you need that Hitchhiker's Guide. You never know where you're going to end up in the galaxy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But I got like 6 questions I could flip on just the answer you said, David. But I gotta let my brother, my Zalian brother, drop that first one. That's supposed to be the first one, but it wasn't because I am the unknown factor. Whatever.
He tells me
Oh,
every
do it.
question I ask isn't the first one, and then I gotta ask this other one, and I'm just like, but that wasn't the first question I wanted to ask. It's not the one I wanted to know.
Well,
But either
fine.
way,
You
all
got a
right, look,
different
look.
first question. You know what? You know what? You know what? Fine. You got a different first question. Then fine. I don't give a damn why David got into comics. We'll just
Well,
roll
you
with
know
it. All
what?
right.
That's what I was
All
about to
that.
ask him because I was honestly interested and wanted to know.
I don't believe you, Hardaway.
All right, real talk though. Why did you get into comics? Why did you pursue even this style of artwork? The the gritty, hard, bold lines are amazing, man. I'm going to give you that. I like that.
Thank you very
Um,
much. Yeah, as like a lot of people in my situation, I'm a very visual learner. Growing up in the late '70s, early '80s, it was kind of how school is now. I'm a art teacher also. I teach elementary art also, and I can't say that it's
Oh,
changed
cool.
much because a lot of times teachers, by no fault of their own, on most levels, aren't aren't getting all learning styles. Everybody learns differently, and there's many, many, many different kinds of intelligence. And unfortunately, as a kid growing up in the late '70s, early '80s, if you couldn't memorize the entire test in 25 minutes, and you weren't considered smart. So while I was holding in the B's and the C's, and A in some of the areas here and there, I was always kind of told that I was falling behind. I always knew that I was a visual learner. So the second I started using that visual learner mentality with the rest of my schooling, I was able to take it up to the next level. I really didn't understand how to use it properly until I was in college. So it was that struggle between K and 12th grade, knowing that my brain didn't quite work like everybody else's, or the people that I knew around me anyway. So I was trying to find different ways to be able to learn the subject matter in a way that my brain could comprehend, and usually that was visually. So to be able to draw the history thing that the teacher was trying to teach us, whether it was Civil War or World War II or the Depression or whatever it was, drawing a little scene about what that was to be able to help me learn it better, to be able to kind of see. And I teach my students this, to be able to see those letters and numbers, not as letters and numbers, but as pictures, because letters are just pictures that stand for sound, and numbers are just pictures that stand for amounts of stuff. But someone with the way my brain looked took me a long time to be able to figure that out. They're just hieroglyphs for the language that we speak or the numbers that we use for mathematics. So to be able to see the world a little bit more visually, that really helped me to be able to do that. And comic books was clearly a way into that world. So like I said, when I first started reading comics, it was old Archie and the old Mighty Mouse, and the old Walt Disney Key comics, the Goofy and Scrooge McDuck, and then eventually graduate.
You're really dating yourself there, David.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. I'm sorry. You're right.
Hey, you're good,
But
man. You're good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, graduating to superheroes, and knowing that from that first read of that Captain America or Superman, that was what I wanted to dive into really for the rest of my life.
All right. Now I have to pick on you just a little, Mr. Whalen. I will not lie, right? And then I'm going to give you a compliment all at the same time, right?
Good.
Because I am the
Pros and
unknown
cons
factor.
right at the beginning. I love it.
It's what I do, bro, right? How's your favorite character going to be Superman when you were a kid?
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, I kind of understand, right?
Mhm.
And then I just got to say, I love the fact that your least favorite character is Batman, who's been very much discussed on this
Oh my
this
goodness.
questionnaire. And look, if you check out Ariel Mandel's the episode with Ariel Mandel, he has the best Batman story that DC needs to publish.
Yeah.
They need to publish it, David. It was the best Batman story. Dude, I hate Batman, but look, if you tell me they start publishing that story that Ariel Mandel was talking about on episode 2, I will pick it up issue by issue, and I don't even do that anymore. I pick up graphics. But that one, I would want to read, right?
You convinced
So
me.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's look if you go
Watch
back,
episode two. Watch episode 2.
David,
Well, 3.
yeah, it's 3, bro, because this is all a tribute to episode 1. Shout out to Matt Hawkins for being dope like he be. Um, but if if you threw me off with that, Hardaway, but I'm curious, like, why is it like, especially looking at your favorite superheroes as a child, Superman, and then Wolverine was your least favorite? I need an explanation, David.
Yeah. So maybe least favorite is a strong word. I'll start with Superman. So I already said it was the late 70s, early 80s, and Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow was one of those first books that I picked up, not knowing that it was a closure of all of pre-crisis. Not quite understanding that yet because I hadn't been able to dive into all that stuff. So then Crisis hitting and The Man of Steel by John Byrne. I just really appreciated the amount of depth with the character, a depth that I don't think a lot of people, especially the people that make the movies, truly understand in the character. They call him just a big blue Boy Scout, but there's so much depth and so much more character and story there than what people think, in my humble opinion. So to be able to when I walk out of a Superman movie, I want to feel like I could save the world. And I think in the last few renditions of the movies, I haven't walked out feeling that way.
All right, look. I don't mean to pause, but then I got to say, what? Because I was kind of surprised at a few of your answers on the pre-show questionnaire. You know what I mean? And the one that really surprised me based on the answer before it, as far as Superman the movie, and then most recently Umbrella Academy, which I think Umbrella Academy is excellent. I can't tell you the last time I watched the original Superman movie. But the fact that your next answer was not Man of Steel kind of surprised me, David, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go tried and true original on that stuff. I mean, Christopher Reeve, you can't get any better. While there are holes in the story and there are problems with the story on some level, it was that and I try to, in my writing, in my comic books, try to use the same mentality that they use, which was that verisimilitude, which is honoring the character in a realistic way and really trying to portray that character like it's the real world, even though they're fantastical situations happening. Try to ground it in a reality, and I quite honestly don't think that any superhero movie has done it as good as well as Superman the movie did. While all the Marvel stuff is good, and there's ebbs and flows on whether you call it good or not. While I've enjoyed most of it, I still think that original Richard Donner Superman the movie really hit so many different emotional and emotional beats and character traits that really showed the width and breadth of what that character can be.
Damn, man, all I know is when I get some more free time and I'm able to watch some more films, I might have to go back and watch that. It might take 2 years, but that's besides the point.
The cinematography alone in the Smallville scenes is brilliant. I mean, it's genius stuff. To be able to not have Superman in the first 45 minutes of the movie, but still be enthralled by the story of this character growing up in Smallville and in small town America, and the struggle that he of having these powers but not being able to save people yet. I don't know. I just really thought it gives me every single time the spoilers for a 40-year-old movie, but with the funeral scene of Paul Kent and it starts swirling around and music starts playing. I mean, if you're not a human being, you don't start to welling up a little bit. I mean, for me, it's the pinnacle of storytelling.
I am not a Superman fan. I've never.
Tell me why.
Now, mind you, the original Superman movies I did like, even though some parts are goofy.
Look, real quick. Oh my God, we've gotten into this before in a past episode, Hardaway. I don't know if we should rehash it unless you do it in a real abbreviated version.
I'm just gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it very simple. I'll keep it very simple.
Yeah, abbreviated. Yeah.
All right. DC has stated that Superman is their flyboy, their main ace buku guy. All right. That means his power is absolutely limitless, and they'll give him any super ability they need to make him win the day. Superman will always win the day. There's no chance of him actually losing. So that's them as a company stating that. That's trash. That's why I don't get behind. I like every other Kryptonian, every other one, but Clark. That's the problem. And like that's
Yeah.
like I love Zod. To me, there should have been no reason why Zod lost that fight. It made zero sense why Zod lost that fight. Zod should have
Now you're
came
talking
in.
about the movie. You're talking about in the movie. In the
Um,
movie.
yeah,
If with the latest Man of Steel movie. If I can be honest with you, I 100% agree with you. There was
Oh,
no reason for Clark to win that fight. Clark had zero training. Zod was a trained military general, while Clark did have a little bit of a head start with the powers that he gained on Earth from Earth's yellow sun. Um, Zod was smarter. Zod was a better technician. Zod was
yeah.
bigger.
Zod's a
Zod had every
monster.
reason to win that fight. I 100% agree with you. That's why the reason why, while I enjoy for just its the enjoyment factor as a cinematic, experience, I enjoyed Man of Steel. I still don't think that it brought home what Superman can be. So I agree with you.
Like I
Okay,
just
real quick.
no.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just got to say, look, I agree. That Man of Steel, or the newest Superman film that was a solo film, it was terrible in so many ways, man. But it makes me curious, and I want to bring up something that we've never, in the first 9 episodes of the questionnaire, brought up, which kind of honestly surprises me, right? Um, I'm assuming you've seen the Justice League film.
Both versions, yes.
Okay, all right, that's the answer I wanted to hear, David. What's your opinion of the difference as far as how they were handled from the Snyder cut to the cut that was put out?
I think that the Snyder Cut was ambitious. Um, Too ambitious for characters that the mainstream audience, and I don't care about making superhero movies for the mainstream audience, but you do, if you want to make more movies, you need to make it popular enough for the mainstream audience to come in and want to watch it. But I think that for the Snyder Cut, it was too fast for a mainstream audience to really understand and care about who these characters were. For the Whedon cut, I think while Whedon tried to do his thing and make it more human, I think a lot of the lines and dialogue were interchangeable between all of the characters. You could have had Wonder Woman saying things that Batman was saying. You could have switched their viewpoints, and it would have still worked out okay. And I think that that's not great for the 75 plus years that these characters have been around. They have their characters are and their personalities are fairly well grounded, and fairly well known even to the layman in comics. And I think the biggest problem that the Whedon cut had, while he was trying to slapstick together somebody else's film, which is never a good idea, I think that it was trying to smush too many characters into 2 hours without giving the audience a reason to give a darn.
So let me ask you then, man, because let's just flip this question on its head, right? Let's say that for some reason, when Chris Claremont started the X-Men run, he had like 12 issues, but then they were suddenly like, man, go away. We don't like you no more. And you had to take over and do it like and put your own spin on it. Like, do you
Yeah.
think it would have kind of had the same effect? Like, what do you think? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it would depend on the writer, and if they were going to hire anybody for that situation, Joss Whedon, before all the issues cropped up that were known now, was the guy to hire. And that was at least they were trying to make good decisions in a bad situation. But I think if any run of any comic book or TV show or whatever starts getting a different voice attached to it, like we call it a showrunner, a different showrunner or a different director, it's gonna start getting a little bit muddled because nobody can see inside the original creator's brain. While there were probably, I would assume, a script and notes and all that kind of stuff that they could go from. That new creator is going to want to come in and put their own stamp on it, and that I think that just creates maybe a tone problem that the Whedon verse, the Whedon Justice League version had on some level.
I mean, I understand that, but can I
Yeah.
say, I feel like that's something that they successfully do in comics, repetitively.
Look,
Because I mean, like, how many people have wrote the X-Men? I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't have that number handy. If somebody wants to comment it, that's fine. I'm sure there's someone that literally knows how many people have actually written the X-Men. But I mean, that's obviously something that's been passed back and forth and back and forth. I think it's the fact that it would be like somebody creating most of a graphic novel and then handing it to you and going, hey, look, I need you to, like, I have some life crisis. I need you to make sure this all gets assembled right. And like half the story's there, half the pages are done, half the like what would you do in that situation, man? Would you do, because I would lose my shit.
Oh yeah. In no way, shape, or form am I saying it was an easy job. I think for what it was, in both versions, I think are entertaining. I think that the biggest problem people have is they have an expectation in their brain of whatever it is they want it to be, whether it's the original Superman movie or Suicide Squad or Justice League or She-Hulk or whatever it is. People have an expectation of what they want it to be in their brain, especially now in the year 2022, that if it doesn't meet their expectations or it doesn't do the things they want it to do, then they suddenly start bashing whatever it is. But as long as the creator had a vision and had, and saw that vision through, as long as it's entertaining, then, if it didn't do my thing or didn't do the thing that I wanted it to do, I'm not in charge of it, So I just walk in knowing that I might want to see this. I might want to see Red and Yellow Daredevil. I might want to see Punisher or whatever it is. But if I don't see those things, I'll go, oh, that's okay. But it was an entertaining story. I think with something like I said, with Justice League, it's I think the people take it so seriously and are so hurt if it's not the thing, especially people from my age range, which are old farts at this point. If it's not what they remember from their childhood, then it's immediately not good to them. But there's got to be a new crop of creators coming up and putting their spin on those things, or it's not going to last. And then that thing that they loved, my generation loved so much as kids, is going to be gone. So if you can't roll with the times, if you can't know that a person that is 30 is going to see it differently than a person that is 50, or even a person that's in their 20s is going to see these characters differently than a person that's in their 40s. If you can't walk into the theater or see it on TV knowing that there's going to be changes to the character, then you've already set yourself up to fail and to not be entertained on some level.
See, the only storyline that I would ever enjoy of the Justice League is if they made Doc Holliday a character and they gave him those Colt 1847 walkers and just let him go to town.
You get the Rawhide Kid in there.
Like, see, that would be cool to me to have that, because Preacher's in the DC universe, so that's dope. All right. And if that's the case, then give him the Saint of Killers guns. Make Doc Holliday a character, give him the guns, and everybody can catch one. He literally has the best lines ever. I'll be your Huckleberry. Like,
that's why I used it in a verse for Zay, but that's neither here nor there, right?
Well, you could easily take one of those characters to be like I think that the Justice League has such a great roster that it doesn't always have to be the main seven. They tried to shoehorn in so many great characters into one movie when they could have had Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then brought in together like Martian Manhunter, great, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. They could have brought in those other key Justice League members and then had Flash and Cyborg and who else was there? Aquaman. Just like Aquaman, have their own separate movies first, and then in the sequel, bring it all together to be able to have those initial characters. Having so many leading men and women, so many strong characters and strong voices. It was almost an impossible situation to be able to get them all successfully into a 2-hour movie and make people feel like there wasn't enough Flash, there wasn't enough Batman, there wasn't enough Superman, there wasn't whatever it is. I think if you would have started with the trilogy, with the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and brought in some I hesitate to say B-listers, but some B-listers that would be really fun to be able to do that. But
they are
I'm not
B-listers. Yeah, they are B-listers in comparison to the other names that you said. Can I say though, on the note of that, I want to add one name, and it might be because my son be loving the Lego DC Flash movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Plastic Man?
Holy crap,
they don't want that.
Fantastic.
They don't want. Look, nobody wants that.
Oh, you gotta have the eel in there. You gotta have Plastic Man in there.
Look, no, I want. But I'm not saying. I'm not saying it's not going to be useful or fun. He's a great character. He's one of the greatest ones. The issue is that the world is not ready for that badassery. And you can bleep me out or whatever, but the world ain't ready. The world ain't ready.
You out for just that. Hardaway, GSOP. And what are you talking about, bro? They just did the fantastic. They just brought in Reed Richards.
Yeah, Reed Richards is different.
Exactly the same power.
The personality, the creativity. That's the reason why Plastic Man. Look, if we were to have Plastic Man and Mr. Fantastic go at it in a stretching contest, Plastic Man is going to win that fight. Just because he is far more creative when it comes to just off the wall goofiness. Mr. Fantastic is a genius, but he's not very.
Let me ask David a question then. Let's say, David, you take Reed Richards and you take you take Plastic Man, and you shove him in a contained room. Who do you think's walking out?
So and I agree with what you're saying, while Reed Richards is a genius level thinker, I think that the fight will last a long time. I think that Plastic Man knows his powers better because of the shape-shifting element. And I also think, being an ex-criminal, Plastic Man would cheat, while Reed Richards would not.
And he was told to do so by Batman, the dude he looks up to the most.
Whatever you can.
Yeah,
do whatever you can.
Whatever. As long as it doesn't kill him, we're good. So it's like,
there's no morality in a fight. You cheat.
Well, there's nothing. Look, now mind you, if it was the evil version of Mr. Fantastic, whole different story. Different story. The Maker is a different level.
616 Reed Richards, and what Earth is regular? What Earth is regular Justice League on? I can't remember what
it's Earth 1.
Is it Earth 1?
Yeah, it's not Earth Prime.
I think it depends on which version of DC you're talking about. As far as the original, is it the New 52? Is it the Rebirth? Is it? I think one of the best. I'm the most familiar with the New 52 as far as DC is concerned, and I think on that one it's Earth 1. Short of that, David, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie.
I think they're one of the best Plastic Man. If you want to see what Plastic Man can do and what Plastic Man has to offer, and I can't believe we're having a legitimate discussion about the heroics of Plastic Man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a story from the mid '90s that had, when Justice League started branching off into different, having different superheroes come in that just weren't the regular 7. Plastic Man, Steel was one of them. There's a couple great moments for Plastic Man. I believe it's in the Obsidian saga, if I remember. There was a 2 or 3 issue storyline with a bad guy named Obsidian. No, I'm getting it wrong. It wasn't Obsidian, because Obsidian is. Gosh, I'm gonna have to remember it. I'll remember before we get out of here.
I've heard that story as far as from DC, but like I said, I'll be honest. I'm more of a other comic books and then Marvel. You know what I mean? Like I focus more.
You're a Marvel guy.
Well, but before that, bro, it's the other companies. It's the Top Cow, it's Dynamite, it's like those are what I'm saying. Chaos when it existed, and unfortunately, it doesn't anymore. Brian, you need to come on the show, but that's besides the point. We already had Ariel come on, man, and he's drawing that most recent Evil Ernie. I need that creator. That's a different point though altogether. But flip this back, man. I'm curious then. We just said Batman is somebody that trained Plastic Man. Why is Batman your least favorite character now? I'm very, very curious.
Yeah, there are parts of Batman that I really do enjoy, and I 100% understand why people dig him the most. I think that he is overrated and overutilized. Just for the same reason I would say Wolverine is overrated and overutilized. Not every time, like there was like a couple years back, I went into the comic shop and every single title was linked to Batman somehow. Batman was on the cover of every title. They were putting Batman in every single costume they could get into, and it really is, and they're trying to sell books. So I'm not mad at them for it, because that's their job. They don't sell books. I can't make my books.
I understand, because they did the same thing with this gentleman right here. You know what I mean? And they did it for a minute.
Yeah, and I love the movies. I love if I get a trade every once in a while, I'll pick up a Batman trade. The Court of Owls was a great trade. Great set of stories with Batman. I'm not saying that I hate Batman. I'm saying that I wish that they would use the same care in other characters that also have impact that they use for Batman. Does that make sense?
So how do you make sure when you're working that that's balanced properly like that, David? You know what I mean? How do you make sure that you don't have a Wolverine effect, a Batman effect? What is very much a Deadpool effect? Can I say it was so funny to see that character turn from someone that was so not used to holy hell, he's everywhere, man. Shout out to Rob at Comic Book University, because he showed his age. He's like, how do you think I feel? I seen it happen with Spider-Man. I was like, whatever, you old ass.
Yeah, and again, to be able to have that level of success with any character, I wish, so what I try to do, especially with a book like my book The Offspring, that just issue 21 just came out last week. You can find it on correctanacomics.com.
There'll be a link in there. Hey, real quick, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, you know what? I don't rightly care where you're watching, listening to this too. There'll be a link in the description. I figured that out recently. What can I say, man? If you want to check out his work, check the links.
Yeah. So with my characters that have multiple, with my books that have multiple characters, especially The Offspring, I really try to make sure that the roles, before I even started book number 1, that the roles for each character was very defined. Whether it was having a character that was both the comic relief, but also was the one that was going to drive the plot forward. The strong man, or then the brains, or the heart of the story, or whatever, or the common sense character. Whatever their role was, I made sure that I wrote those characters down in my notebook or wherever I was writing, and I said, what are the characteristics that I want these characters to define? What are characteristics that I know that these characters have? And this was 20 years ago that I did this. So I've had these characters in my brain for a long time. So to define those characters out and to know before I even started issue 1 what their roles were, because it was dealing with such a traumatic situation for the 3 main characters, because the 3 main characters were all abused as children, and that's how they were abused as children and how their powers emerge. And we start to find out why powers emerge from their abuse, because people are abused every single day, but it doesn't generate superpowers in them. So to be able to slowly unveil why these kids started developing these powers based off the abuse that they were going through, and to understand why these 3 characters were not just linked by their past, but also linked mentally. They started to realize they had a telepathic link to each other on some level, that as the story progresses starts to grow a little bit more. So knowing that I had those character traits defined, and knowing the progression of the story that I wanted to do, and knowing that there was going to be legitimate growth and change throughout, but also knowing, and this was key in my story, also knowing that the overall problem that they are dealing with which is their trauma as children, and how they develop these powers, or why they develop these powers because their abuse, was never going to be solved. There's no way to solve abuse once you've been abused. So knowing that these characters were just working through that trauma, solving other problems as they came, because they started realizing they were also magnets for monsters and creatures and other things that would constantly be attacking them. knowing that the end of the story was not going to be, oh, I'm all fixed now, I'm a whole person now because my abuse has been forgotten. It's, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this level of pain that they had to deal with from what happened to them as children, and how do they become caring, kind members of society with this level of trauma. When we meet the three characters in the beginning of the story, in issue 1, they are in the worst part of their life. They are in the downest down of their downest part of their life. Sarah is just getting out of prison. Vince, we meet for the first time, tries to commit suicide. And Will, who is the strong man of the group, I handled him a little bit differently. He is working in the school that they all grew up in, but he seems to have it all, be the one that has it all together. He seems to be the one that is holding it together and has it all down, as super smart and super caring and super got it together. But as the story progresses, we start to see the cracks show. So 3 different characters handling that trauma in 3 different ways, which was something that I had set up, like I said, 20 years ago when I wrote the little, this is what their goal is. So this is what I want them to do as the story progresses.
That's very intriguing, man. You've shown that, I mean, obviously, because anyone that's been through any kind of childhood trauma, they're going to deal with it differently. Some people become people that are just helpful, up to where some people become the people that are just predators. You know what I mean? Every aspect of that happens. So that's phenomenal to hear that you've shown so many different aspects, man. If you want to check that out, like I said, click one of the links in the description. I promise it's one of them. There are going to be a couple, but that's besides the point. Neither here nor there. We'll make sure that's. Yeah, we'll make sure that one's the top one. Yeah, but click all of them for real, like Hardaway said. Yeah, I'm gonna let Hardaway just throw out a random question though. I know he got one.
Let's do it.
I honestly do, because I'm like absolutely confused. So look, your favorite shape, your wife. That was a great answer. No, that's not the one that confuses me. I wanted to compliment you on that one. That was an excellent answer. I hope your wife hears that. I hope.
Best shape I've ever seen.
I hope you go up to her and be like, look, honey, this is why I wrote about you. You're my favorite shape. No matter what shape you in, you my favorite. You won the day with that. You should have won the day. I hope she gave you all the massages.
Look, all I know is this is not sarcastic. I just love Orange Cassidy, right? So this is the thumbs up I got to give you. I don't know if you watch AEW or not, but
yeah. All right, so this is the one that confused me, because it's the same thing that confused you. The shape that confuses you is the lack of empathy.
Okay.
How is empathy a shape? That's the confusion.
It can shape our views. It can shape the world.
I see where he went there with that.
See it as how it shapes us and the world around us.
He was like, oh yeah, that's your question, Hardaway.
Yeah, he tanned it like it was a hide, bro. He straight stretched it. He was just like, watch me do this one. It's okay. It's all good.
You thought he was coming in with something. He came out like Bruce Lee with the nunchuck.
Man.
Or let me make that deeper. He came out like Orange Cassidy, stuck his hands in his pockets, and then still kicked your ass, bro. I love it.
If you know early Orange Cassidy stuff, what did he always say? He goes, "That's how you do it, baby." That's early Orange Cassidy. That's before AEW Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, I went back and watched some of his stuff. I won't lie. That is legit. That guy changed, in my opinion, the wrestling industry. Yeah. He came in and he did something that no one's ever done. I mean, I'm not like that's become my favorite wrestler, and I've been a wrestling fan since as long as I've been a comic book fan. You know what I mean? Maybe a little bit less, to be real honest. But
all right,
that dude.
I do.
Maybe add a question.
I hope that they progress him a little bit further. Maybe get him a belt in the next couple months, years.
I got a feeling that them Best Friends is going to win that trio title.
I think so too. When Dark Order beat I can't remember, Black.
This is great.
House of Black.
When Dark Order beat House of Black, I was like, and my daughter and I watched. She's like, "Dad, Dark Order won. They won. I can't believe it." She's like, "That means the best friends are gonna win." I was like, "Well, we'll see. We'll see."
And look, if they don't give Orange Cassidy a title at this point, in my opinion, it's kind of a waste of that man's talent.
Oh, yeah. He was over since day one, and to end it, while they have pushed him, I don't know if they pushed him enough. You know what I mean? Like the feud with Jericho was great, 3 amazing matches. It was awesome. But if you don't give him some gold soon here, people are gonna stop caring, right?
Hardaway has no idea what we're talking about, by the way. Actually, he does
a little bit, a very little bit. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Check this out.
Wait. Can I real quick? Before you say anything, Hardaway, I just gotta say, it's because the first match that Orange Cassidy tried him versus Pac, right? Right. He sent me a tweet and was like, "You're gonna tell me wrestling is fake." And it's Orange Cassidy and Pac going at it, and I'm like, "No, dude, those are 2 of my favorite wrestlers right now."
Indeed. But
that match is amazing.
Here's the thing. I may not know a lot about AEW and wrestling and whatnot because I'm not like wrestling at the moment in time. All right. But I do enjoy the fact that your favorite mythical creature is Bigfoot. Yeah. I would like to know why, because I got some. Man, I want to ask you a few questions depending on after your answer to this one. So, why is Bigfoot your favorite mythological creature?
I think because I think that out of all the mythological creatures, Bigfoot is probably the one that's most likely to actually exist on some level. Probably not what we have made it into in pop culture. But I mean, the panda bear was a myth up until 75 years ago. The mountain gorilla was a myth up until 100 years ago. They didn't realize those animals existed because they're so good at hiding. And I think that the reason I like that one is because I think it's that creature is the most likely possible to actually exist.
All right, so that leads me into a series of things. You shush. You go on for tangents.
Go ahead, Hardaway. Go ahead.
All right.
I was just gonna say real quick. No. Real quick. It makes me think of the Book of Truth and the fact of how I don't know if you've read, or the Department of Truth. I don't know if you've read that, and how they say that somebody's belief can affect and actually bring something into reality. But I'll let Hardaway continue. It just shout out the Book of Truth. The Department of Truth is just brilliant.
The mind over matter situation.
It kind of. But here's the thing. I'm gonna run this one by you. All right. This is why I think all of the supernatural creatures and whatnot and mythological things do not show themselves in this world because most of them can do magic. Humans are insane, crazy, and will always find ways to kill you because guess what? If I can't do what you can do, that means you dangerous, and that means you got to go. All right? And since almost all of them have some form of intelligence, you would think that they would learn not to deal with us and just put a veil over so we never see them and have to tolerate or like deal with them and whatnot. And we have people that come up missing all the time and we never find them.
Mm-hmm. You've convinced me.
No, but have you ever heard of Jim Butcher?
Jim Butcher, no.
Have you ever heard of the Dresden Files?
Dresden Files sounds familiar, but I can't say I remember.
There used to be a TV show a while ago.
It was either wait, real quick, Hardaway. I don't mean to interject, but it was either a comic book or a book first.
It is a book first. It is a book first. I've read all of the books to this day.
Okay.
They're still going and whatnot. But Bigfoot is actually one of the main powerhouses in that series. And they treat him as one of the, how should I put this? Because I can't remember exactly what they call them and whatnot. But they are one of like the original inhabitants of the planet and Earth. They're like one of the first children. So think of like a druid. They're all shamans and druids. They can just mold into the ground and pop out of trees type stuff. Like they're all super cool, but that's the reason why you don't really see them and they're always blurry and whatnot is because that's the gift they were given and whatnot.
Okay.
But that's just,
I dig it.
I just thought that was pretty cool. And if you haven't read the Dresden Files or listened to them, check them out. They're amazing.
Can I
I'm writing
just
it
say
down.
real quick, and I don't mean to totally flip the subject, and I'm not even going to say this word on the show because we're trying to keep it a little more PG-13. Even though I ask everybody's favorite swear word, I've come to the conclusion that's gonna un-PG-13 out of this. But did you mean blank waffle?
No. Twat waddle.
What the hell is that?
Twat waddle.
Yeah.
Stop being a twat waddle. You've never heard that phrase? That's in the word?
We are from Indiana.
No.
So
No,
Stop
but
being-
I will totally be using it, just so you know, David.
So somebody's being rude or being a jerk or being condescending. You're like, stop being a twat waddle.
See, I would say twat waffle.
yeah.
There can be variations on a theme.
Well, like
I just never. Yeah, I thought it was autocorrect or something. I wasn't sure.
learn something today.
Yeah.
Learn
That is
something
what-
today. All right, who do you think will win
that
though?
is the quest.
Voltron or the Power Rangers?
Ooh.
Voltron, 100%. Lions, not cars. Lions, not cars. The cars was too much. The cars, I understand the concept. Transformers did it better. Lions, not cars.
You
Mine's
did
not good.
understand that the questionnaire though, because you gave 4 answers for one question.
My ADHD kicking it in.
What are you talking
I can
about?
appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Well,
Oh,
Which one did I
Jesus.
answer 4 times?
sci-fi,
His favorite
westerns,
song.
comedies, and mystery.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the favorite songs, there's 3 of those, but that's a whole different. I was talking about the one he did 4 for. And I can respect the ADHD, bro. I go all over the place. You know what I mean? Like check out the interview with us and Shireen as far as going all over the place. That went all over the bloody place. But that's not.
Well, I enjoy with the favorite genres. The reason that, not to bring it back to my comic book, but I will whenever I get a chance.
No.
The reason that I started my whole concept for The Offspring was to bring these characters in. This was the mid 90s when I came up with these characters. So it was before Smallville. You know the phrase "no flights, no tights" when they started making Smallville. I had said that for my 3 main characters, soon to be 4 main characters. For my 3 main characters, there was no capes, there was no tights, there was no. While they do have code names, I never used them in the series. But I wanted to ground them in reality. But one of the things I wanted to do with the story was to be able to weave in and out of genres. So it starts off as really a horror thriller, and then it starts to weave more to sci-fi. And then through that sci-fi, it starts I do time travel. My first time travel story was into the American Civil War. And then it starts to go into a little bit more like drama action, where each character gets their own specific 2-issue story arc through each of the books. I try to give each character a chance to shine in each season. So in my omnibus issues 1 through 13, each character has a 2-issue story arc in one of those in the group of those 13 issues.
Yeah.
While
Real quick, David. Real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is that available in graphic novel form?
It is. Yeah.
All right.
I have volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. That have different collections of the first 13 issues, and then I have the first 13 issue omnibus, which collects all 13 issues.
And that's all available in the link in the description. That is.
Oh, yeah. Yep. CorrectAnacomics.com.
All right. I just wanted to make sure they knew what that was right in the description if they wanted to click on it and check that out. Can I say, though, it does make sense based on, pardon me, your favorite genres, that the film you prefer best is Tombstone, because the only one of the genres that you included that Tombstone doesn't have a part of is sci-fi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of everything else in that. It's awesome to see that you've used that.
Dude, what mysteries in Tombstone, bud?
He's got to figure out who killed his wife and all that, and there's a little bit. It's been a while since I've watched Tombstone.
I'll find a mystery. Is Doc gonna survive or not? That's a
All right,
mystery.
I'll
That is
give you that one.
definitely
That's the
that
mystery.
is
Is Doc going to
definitely a
If
survive
mystery.
throughout? Because
if this is your
he's
first
staying
time
sick through the
watching it,
entire thing.
if it's your first time watching it, you'll be sitting there hoping and praying.
So
Yeah.
let me flip this back, man. Out of curiosity, you said you started writing this in the '90s, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What
Mid
was
90s.
it? What was it that made it such a progress to finally make it come to fruition?
Yeah. So it really was just about my readiness. I felt like I had a good concept. I had a good overall story arc. I've had the beginning and I've had the end of this story since I've came up with it. It was all the meat in between that I really wanted to make sure I honed in before I started putting it all together. And I'd say in my 20s, I wasn't ready to tell the story. I didn't feel that I had the chops to be able to tell, if that's a word I can use, to tell the story or not. In my 30s, it was my focus was more going back to school and starting my family and getting my education, becoming a teacher. And then once I kind of all those pieces fell into place, I started going, why am I not writing and drawing comic books? It's always been a love. It's always been what I wanted to do. Why am I not doing it? And I realized it was just because of my own fear of whether I could or not. So I started reaching out to small press companies saying, hey, do you need, a 6-issue or 6-page this or one issue that or something for an anthology? If you and I put up some of my artwork for them and said, if you like my artwork and you like my sequentials, I'd love to be able to do these pages, and started getting work here and there from some of the smaller companies. Once I started realizing that I could tell a story fairly well in sequentials, and only getting better as I did. This was 10 years ago. Only getting better as I went. I felt it was time to start putting together this, opus, I guess, of these characters that I had in my brain for forever. And once I started writing the first 4-issue story arc, I started realizing that I did have the voice that I wanted to be able to tell these stories, to be able to get these characters where I wanted them to go. So it was really just confidence and knowing, looking back, going, oh boy, and every artist does this, every creator does this. Oh, I wish I would have done that in issue 2. Oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. Looking backwards sometimes is an after effect of creating, but I try just to continue to move forward. So knowing, and the advice I give to anybody who ever wants to create
What?
is just do it.
I'm in,
Don't
I'm in the
start
middle
with
of it.
your main thing that you think is going to be the thing. You know what I mean? Don't start with your Batman character. Start with, come up with a 24-issue one-shot, and I've got a bunch of them, that of a story or a character that you like, that you can make a story from beginning to end. It doesn't have to be a giant 6-hour Lord of the Rings thing. It can just be a small, intimate story with characters that people can care about and a storyline that people can connect with, and go from there. And if that works out, do another one. If that one works out, do another one until you feel that you're ready to be able to tell that one story that all of us creators have.
Hey, can I say that is a phenomenal answer? I got 3 questions back to back we're going to get into real quick. Hardaway is going to take the second, and you'll know what it is once I ask the first, brother. I promise you. Right? But before that, I want everybody to keep in mind that based on what he said, Top Cal's running that talent hunt. Shout out to Matt Hawkins. Episode 1, it was the greatest interview in the world. I will say this one is phenomenal, but episode 1 was the greatest interview in the world, and this is just a tribute, right? Check it out. But what I want to know, man, we're going to ask firstly, let's say if you're writing a story and you could just hand pick an artist, any artist you wanted to draw that story. Like, nobody dead. I'm not playing that game. So they got to be 6 foot up. They can't be 6 foot down or in ash, right? Who you going to pick?
Well, my first answer would be me, right? Because if you don't promote yourself,
stop that.
nobody's going to promote you. I got you. I got a real answer though. I have a real answer. One of my favorite artists and writers. It's one of the reasons why I started thinking maybe I can write and draw, and started putting together those stories. Was Dan Jurgens. who handled Superman during the death of Superman and funeral for a friend and his comeback and all that stuff. I have gone back even now 20 years later to look at some of those pages, to be able to read some of those stories. I think he was a big inspiration of mine to be able to juggle as much as they did in those storylines, and starting from a place of, we can't marry Clark and Lois yet, so what are we going to do? And somebody yelled out, "Let's kill him," and they did it. They could have just done villain of the week. Oh, let's bring back Parasite. Let's bring back Mixapitalik. Let's bring back Lex Luthor. They could have done that, but instead they were like, no, yeah, let's kill him off. Let's kill off the main character and the very first superhero. Let's kill him and keep him dead for a while. And I think that level of brass buns, I guess, was something that I saw that I still think, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then I realized I can do whatever I want in my stories. It's mine. So I do it. And it's that level of writing and juggling that I really appreciated and really still go back and learn from.
I know you know the next question, Hardaway.
Oh, yes.
Pardon Hardaway, he's distracted.
I was looking up his answer and going, awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to see what he was talking about.
No. Like I said, he's practicing the religion of hip hop too much. You got to check out the Chosen World to get into that, but that's another story. Hardaway.
Yeah, he talks too much. Here's the next question. If you could draw for a writer, which writer would you choose? Same thing, the same parameters. You gotta be alive, can't be dead, you can't get divine intervention.
Yeah, I've got an answer for that also. I think it's going to have to go with another writer-artist who, if you look at my style, you can see where there's influence there as a graphic designer. I was a graphic designer for 10 years before I became a teacher. And as a graphic designer, I tried to deal with a lot of solid blacks, a lot of solid colors, and not a lot of hatching and cross-hatching that is so popular now. If you look at some of my work, I don't do a lot of it. I'll put it in where I think it's needed, but I don't do a lot of hatching and cross-hatching. So if I were to draw for any writer, I think it'd have to be Frank Miller.
Oh,
yeah, I think that our style would mesh well. So Frank, if you're listening, our styles would mesh amazingly. Let's do it.
Those are two phenomenal answers, David.
Yes.
Right? But I said it was 3 questions. Hardaway was taking the middle. I don't think he'll know what the third is, so I want to know. Let's say you could pick a character. Any character in the comic industry, man. Like anybody that runs, I don't care. And play with them. Who you want to play with?
Ted Cord Blue Beetle.
That was such a quick answer. I honestly didn't expect, but I should have based on the questionnaire. But that's besides the point, right?
Ted Cord Blue Beetle, I think, is one of the most underrated characters in the history of the DC universe. While Dan Garrett, Blue Beetle #1, had maybe a better origin story, and Yami Reyes is maybe a stronger Blue Beetle just because of the alien armor and alien technology that it uses. I think that Blue Beetle is on par with the everyman type superhero, and should be put up there in the A level because of his genius level intelligence, because of his tech, because of just the simple fact that he's just a normal dude going out there fighting crime and helping people.
I want to back you up even more.
After 3 heart attacks.
I want to back him up even more. All right, because he's speaking facts. All right. That is also one of 2 other characters that Batman will go to for assistance in detective work. That is the Question in Blue Beetle. Those are the only 2. Everybody else, he's like, F you, I can do it myself. But when he needs help, he's hitting up Blue Beetle and the Question.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. When they killed off Blue Beetle, it was a pivotal moment in DC Comics history. But it was also, for me, I was like, well, You're just now diving into the importance of this character, and you shot him in the head.
Yeah.
So while I appreciate the pivotal turn that he created in the DC universe, it was also a bittersweet moment because it was a character that I loved and grew up with that never met his full potential as far as I'm concerned. And one thing that I keep kind of yelling to the rooftops on, like in the DC TV universe, is that why isn't Blue Beetle used as a tech guy in any of these shows? Why isn't Ted Kord used as a tech guy in any of these shows? He is perfect.
I never thought it. Yeah, he really would be. Hey,
you don't have to do any like CGI power things. He is just a dude wearing yellow goggles and a blue suit, flipping and flopping around in a beetle ship that he created. What stop it? What's the problem? Let's do it.
Let's flip this
Blue
real
Beetle
quick.
2022.
I totally agree, man. I would love to see. Wait, isn't it? No, it's a Booster Gold film they're planning, is it not?
I think they're trying to do like a buddy flick, which would be great.
But wasn't that Booster? It wasn't Booster Gold Blue Beetle's that specific Blue Beetle's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Michael and Ted were kind of like the Laurel and Hardy of Justice League, and Justice League in the late 80s, early 90s. And while I enjoy some comedy in my books, and again it didn't take Blue Beetle to the place that he needed to go, and I think that's one of the things that stopped him from propelling forward as an A-lister in this imaginary person that doesn't really exist.
Well, I
remind myself from time to time.
I'm loving this interview. Can I say I just got to flip the script real quick though, because I am the unknown factor. It is what I do, man. I love the fact that the favorite part of your job is drawing with kids. You know what I mean? Because with the kid of my own, I love the fact that you take that much appreciation in that. I also love the fact, because I hate it too on anything I have to do, especially like it's amazing how much paperwork there is in the music industry, right? Do you find that in creating comics, there's way more paperwork than you ever thought there would be?
I would say that the process, while I knew it was going to be tricky to start off with, every aspect of the process is enjoyable on some level. The good thing about me being my own boss in my comic book, is that I don't really write scripts. I have outlines that I go by. So when I guess it's kind of the Marvel method. I have an outline. I know I want these characters to do and say. So I'll create the book, pencils, inks, colors, clean it up. It's all ready. It's ready to go and formatted. Then I'll letter it, and from there I can play with a little bit and adjust if I come up with a better line, or I'm like, oh, I want to put this little plot point in real quick in this area instead of this area. So for me, being a fan of comics since that forever, every single process, while some of the processes can be more difficult than others, is enjoyable. So go
ahead, David. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So even parts that at the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. The level, or the eventually learning that part of the process and getting better at it, and knowing that at the beginning it would take me 20 minutes to format, or an hour to format my book for print. Now it takes me 5 minutes to be able to plot all those pages in. Boom, I'm done. We did it. Which is
Can I say, it just makes me realize you've been a fan of comics since at least Atari 2600 came out, haven't you?
Oh, I'm a big Atari 2600 guy. Yeah. Journey Escape, Frogger, Space Invaders. My parents tried to throw a little Math Grand Prix in there to get us to learn math better. But yeah, we had all those games. Yeah, loved it. We still do. They're actually in my mom's garage, up on the shelf of my mom's garage. They're probably worth some money. I should probably pull them down.
We have the 2600. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got some cash there, man. But can I just say, look, I've come to the conclusion there's one question on the questionnaire that isn't quite formulated properly, but I love the answers I'm getting. But we're gonna have to add questions to the questionnaire, right? I love my brother over there laughing like, man.
It's because it's the same question. I know exactly what question he's about to ask you. All right,
Man, look.
and he hasn't changed it yet. He's like, he's had this is not episode 9,
Mm.
and he has yet to.
Hey,
All right, it's
whoa,
my fault too because I ain't sit there and change it. I've done nothing. All
for
right, but the
real,
sheer
man. Like
fact,
you ain't. Do me a
this is
favor. Go start
my
making videos
baby.
for the
I
TikTok.
want
Hey, are you making videos for the TikTok yet, Hardaway? Yeah, shut up. All right. So, see how quick I got him to shut up, David? Yeah, that's how that works. Right. First off, how are you going to eat Chinese food with your fingers? Right. But that's not the point.
That's
Right.
traditional,
But
Scoop it. Scoop it.
man.
but your personal
Humble.
superpower, man, is seeing all sides of the issue, which I love that. I think that's a great thing to have. But and what I mean, that question needs to be phrased is, if you could pick one superpower,
Sure.
for you personally, what would you go with, man?
Shape shifting.
That's creepy.
What did he say?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Shape shifting. Be a
Shape
shapeshifter.
shifting. Oh, okay. I thought I heard
Now wait,
something else. I thought I heard
elaborate.
mind shifting. I was like,
Yeah,
what the?
I need you to
That's a good one, though.
elaborate.
I like that.
That is pretty dope. I need you to elaborate, David. Do you mean like shape shifting to the Plastic Man degree, or like Mystique?
Which version of
Um,
Mystique too? The one if you go
yeah.
Mystique route, because there's the
Or
one
like,
where she can't use the
or
powers, and then there's new one where she uses the powers and she's like almost on par with people. So like,
or how about this? Let's give you another option. Morph from the Age of Apocalypse.
yeah.
Okay. Can I give you a fourth option?
What?
Odo from Deep Space Nine.
Wait.
Okay.
Odo
Okay.
from Star Trek Deep Space
Yeah.
Nine.
You're
Oh,
lucky that's the Star Trek I was a fan of, which is kind of random. Deep Space Nine, like,
Yeah.
I don't know why it was, but that like for some reason got me the right way. I was like, dude, I dig this show, which is
all
terrible
right.
because I'm pretty sure it's considered one of the worst ones.
I have a
It
real bad
has
memory on
pros
certain
and cons.
things.
It doesn't have the rewatchability that Next Generation has, I think, in my humble personal opinion. But I think it had a lot of good stuff in it. It had a lot of good Star Trek in it. Just like Voyager. It doesn't quite have the rewatchability, but it had a lot of good, solid Star Trek stuff in it.
All right. We ain't getting into your musical opinions because it ain't hip hop. It's grunge and rock, and that's besides the point. All right.
You can ask me about hip hop.
No, we're not gonna. We're hip hop artists, and you say grunge and rock. We don't care.
Hey,
Okay.
you shut
Shut
your
up.
face.
Some of my favorite
Hardaway,
contemporary
it
hip
was
hop
funny.
artists. I
Look,
would
for
say
one,
Childish Gambino is one of my favorite right now. I really like what he's doing. Traditionally, gosh, I mean, I'm a white boy from Ohio, so like Beastie Boys, right?
all right,
So you
look,
got Coolio. I saw Coolio in concert a few years back. He did amazing.
Oh, nice.
Great.
all right. No, hold on. I got
And
a
I'm really
question.
aging myself now. Yeah.
Just because, see, I'm not even gonna get into my partner in crime in this one.
Mhm.
But me
What did I
personally,
do?
see, like, all right. So you said you like '90s grunge and rock.
Yeah.
All right. So, like, would you so like the Deftones and would you fuck with my bad. Would you Jack Off Joe?
I said we can drop one per episode, bro. Just watch it the rest of the episode.
Jack Off Joe.
Jack Off Joe.
Jill?
Yeah,
Jill?
Jack
Is it
Off
Jack
Jill.
and Jill?
Yeah, Jack and Jill, but it was Jack Off Jill.
Off Jill. You gave me, now I have homework. Thanks.
Ah,
I really appreciate that.
This is the quest.
I'm on a
This
show
is
to
the
talk
quest,
about
David.
comics and you give me
the
homework.
reason why I
No,
ask is
dude.
because, hold on, this is the reason why I ask, because they were active in the years of 1992 to 2000, so they were in that range of 90s rock that you like
Mhm.
mess with and whatnot.
Yeah.
And one of their performances is the lead singer comes out like Carrie.
Nice.
So
Oh, nice.
like,
Hey, well, look, David, as I was saying, this is a quest, and it's a quest for everyone. That includes the guests, right? But I do find it funny that the thing that annoys you most is Christmas music in July. I cannot tell you how much my mother loves to play that. Like like that's the month it is right now. My mom's like, let's put some Christmas music on. Siri don't have Christmas stations all year round. Like, no, duh, they don't. Who wants Christmas music Oh yeah, dude, I love how I got you like on my head.
That's like my daughter. My daughter would just play Christmas music in the kitchen while she's dancing around. And I'm like, Lana, it's July. Like for me, I understand the want to hear it, but it takes away the specialness. You know what I mean? It's
I can feel that.
Watching. Yeah, it's like watching Charlie Brown Christmas or whatever Christmas show you like. Like in July, it doesn't. I don't know. It messes with my brain.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think I could watch the Rudolph and the the Santa. No, I couldn't. I don't think Frosty.
I don't. While I make her turn it off, I walk away.
Oh God, man! Look, hey, can I say too? I love your favorite cartoon. That is a great one. It really is. It really like He-Man, man. That's a.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that if you look at, you can see the influence from comic book within because it was a cartoon first, correct?
Yes. Okay. Well, it was a toy action figure line, and then made the cartoon. So they took all my money. They took all my money. Okay. I still have some. I don't know if you can see. I still have some of them. Like I have my original Prince Adam right here with the vest, and everything still have the vest on him.
Dang.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
So,
yeah, a great cartoon, and I would say that as a kid growing up in the 80s, being what they call now a latchkey kid, my father was a teacher, my mother was a housewife. There were 6 kids. I was the second oldest, so she had 4 kids under me that required more attention than I did on some level growing up. So I was kind of left to my own devices. And a lot of me and my older brother were left to our own devices, and mostly in a positive way. We learned to entertain ourselves. We learned to go out and play. We learned to ride our bikes downtown to get whatever we needed. In a mostly positive way. That was my childhood.
Until it wasn't, David. Don't lie. There was those moments where it's like, look, don't tell mom.
Mostly positive things.
But he's not going to say any of them in the podcast because he's not trying to incriminate himself.
But it's the thing, and they did this to help parents think that they're not just watching a half-hour cartoon. The little PSAs at the end of the cartoons. Don't do drugs. Don't hit people. Be kind. That kind of stuff. They did the same thing at the end of G.I. Joe. I believe that She-Ra had one at the end. I believe too that Strawberry Shortcake had one at the end also, but I could be wrong about that one.
Well, I know G.I. Joe did, yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing is half the battle. Yeah, G.I. Joe.
No, I know. And knowing is half the battle. But those PSAs, I still remember watching those PSAs and going, Duke is right. I'm going to make sure that I pay attention to what Duke's telling me to do because he's a smart person and I want to be a smart person too. And I'm going to be a good person like Duke or like He-Man or Tila or Man-at-Arms, whatever it was. I can remember that as a 9-year-old boy, kind of left to my own devices. And 9-year-old boys left to their own devices are going to do what 9-year-old boys left their own devices do. So,
well, and this is the problem. This is the mediums that we watched, and it was. I know Transformers had something at the end of it as well that were positive. Now you have children that watch TikTok of 3 to 4 minute videos of utter stupidity where there is no positivity, where it's just, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan. Hardaway, make a TikTok for the questionnaire. Hell, you know what?
Look,
Use that clip for the questionnaire.
I will. But here's the thing: like not everything on TikTok. That's false. And not everything on the app is bull. It's a good app, but just like with any platform, there's crap. It's just like with the comic platform and whatnot. You have a plethora of great books, but you're still gonna run into crap.
You have
every generation is gonna have. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was just saying there's far more of a plethora of crap on TikTok than there is in the comic book store. Period. Period.
Every every generation is going to have that thing. This is going to be the thing that's going to destroy this generation, whether it was TV or radio at the beginning, or TV or comic books or movies or rap or rock and roll or
MTV.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe or TikTok or whatever it is. There are pros and cons to any of these things. And I think that while I agree that a good portion of TikTok is mindless ridiculousness, there are positive things to it also. I try to remind myself that my daughter and my son's generation growing up this is how they communicate creativity on some level, for good or bad. And I know a lot of the creativity that's being communicated is just redoing something that somebody else did, right? Like all the music, and they're doing all the dances and stuff, which I would not see that as being creative. I would see that as just copying somebody else's thing. It can lead to, I mean, how many comic book covers did I copy as a kid from artists that I love? You know what I mean? And then I said, now I want to make my own. So it could possibly, given the right mindset and given the right parental supervision, could lead into creativity for children.
I gotta send y'all into the art.
He said a key word though: parental supervision. I think that's important because
it's not their job to raise our kids. It's not their job to raise my kids. It's my job and my wife's job to raise our kids. And if they can show whatever they want, and if my kids happen to accidentally see something I don't want them to see, we don't ignore it. We don't turn it off. We discuss it. Because it's life. Because whether it's nudity or whether it's language or whether it's people getting their heads chopped off or explosions or car accidents or whatever it is, you can't hide it from them. It's everywhere. So you have conversations with them about what they're seeing, why it's not real for the most part on some level, if it's sci-fi or if it's violence on television.
Not only do you get questions answered from the artist, but you get parenting lessons on the questionnaire.
Well, I don't know if I should.
We take you to all the quests.
Hey, no, David, this is a quest, and it's been one hell of one. Hardaway, you got any follow-ups? Because I swear I got such the perfect thing I want to do right now, and it has been a pleasure. David, I want to point out, everybody make sure you check out Correct Hand Comics. Link in the description. I don't care what app you on.
All right. He said, do I have any follow-up questions?
Any questions, man? They ain't got any follow-up.
I just like asking random off-the-wall questions and whatnot, and I'm going to backtrack to your rock stuff. All right. Have you ever heard of the Eels?
Yes, I have heard of the Eels.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm blanking on any songs right now, but I have heard of the Eels, yes.
That's good. Because everybody needs to Novocaine for the soul sometimes. Now, here's a question. Have you ever thought of doing webtoons?
I have. I actually have a few developed. Unfortunately, with the way I try not to divide my time. I try to multiply it. But the way that I'm multiplying my time right now, it's really focusing on the offspring and making sure my kids see me from time to time and making sure my wife sees me from time to time and making sure that I don't get fired from my job. It's difficult to be able to, while I have multiple concepts for those kind of things, the offspring and some of the other comic books that I've put out have really taken forefront in my creative journey.
I fully understand that, man. Can I say, David, I so appreciate you coming on the questionnaire. It has been a pleasure. Right?
Absolute pleasure.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, though, man, can I just get you to be like, yo, this is David Whalen from Correct Handed Comics. Make sure you tune into the questionnaire every Wednesday at noon. And then if you want to add a little something.
Say it again for me.
This is David Whalen, Correct Handed Comics.
Remember that.
Tune into the questionnaire noon every Wednesday. And then if you want to add something else, man, that's all up to you.
Hey, this is David Whalen from Correct Handed Comics. Tune into the questionnaire every Wednesday at noon. Don't get left out.
Yeah. And look, man, I'm glad we didn't leave you out. It's been a pleasure. And while it wasn't the greatest interview in the world, that was episode 1. That was episode 1, man.
This is still an excellent tribute.
This is a beautiful, beautiful tribute, right? I just want to say, right, I appreciate you choosing your own adventure and coming on with us, man, right? Make sure you check out Dave. Like I said, link in the description, right? You can find all of his information, right? Now, if you really, truly enjoyed this interview with Dave, I want you to do me a favor, right? You either go ahead and you send him a set of them Voltron Tigers. Make sure you don't forget the blue one, right? Right? Now, if you thought he was the twat waddle, on the other hand, right? What I want you to do, right, is send him a vampire unicorn. Bro, that's really scary.
I could go on for a while. I go on for a while on that one, but that vampire unicorn is gonna be doused in scalloped potatoes.
Yeah, because that's how we do. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the Unknown Factor. This has been episode 9 of the questionnaire. Make sure you tune in. I promise we got more coming. We got more there as far as if you check in the past, and this will continue because the quest is real and the quest is comic books. Make sure you pick something up. Have a good night.
Yeah, and I'm Jay D-Day Hardaway. Always a pleasure.
Wait. What am I doing? Come on, Dave. Do it with me.
This way.
Wait, no.
Yeah, I wish I had my sunglasses with me.
Yeah.
A lazy high five.
That's right. Lazy. That's the laziest fist bump I had. Like, all right.
Good stuff.
Have a good night, y'all.
Like to play it like Wade.